What is going on, everybody? Hope we're all doing well. Welcome back to more CSGO news revolving around the NV CSGO roster. If you guys did see it, Fugly sent out a pretty ambiguous tweet just yesterday about being lied to throughout the entire offseason. And then just today, guys, also with a massive twit longer, he's been let go from the organization. And the backstory, it's all too reminiscent of all of you Optic fans out there, ranging back to 2016, Stanislaw and Daps, you know, kind of a snaky story out there, at least by Fugly's words. Now, I also need to clarify, before we read this, we're going to read this twit longer together to actually get into the backstory of what happened during the Envy organization's time with this CS roster, back and forth with a few players out there. Besides that, I need to make note, guys, he is not calling out Hastro, the owner of Envy, also alongside Dallas Fuel, Dallas Empire. He is not calling out Hastro, that being Fugly. He is calling out the GM during the results of what happened throughout this entire time of miscommunication and what seems to be maybe some player drama out there, which caused the kicking of Fugly, and certainly, if his words are true, a wrongful kick, and certainly one that I would hope Hastro still responds on, as we've actually seen him respond about player drama in the past. If you guys follow our channel here, we talked about a Call of Duty member formerly of the Dallas Empire, that was Mutex. Hastro came forward to clarify that situation. I hope he does the same in this one. So let's hop into Twitlonger, guys, all about the Envy roster changes, and actually going back to last August, revolving around the Sonic situation. And here's where it all started to begin about what a guy like Nifty has been doing with the organization. And during the situation, oddly resembling what, like I said before, the Optic situation of, you know, obviously wanting to kick one player, another one ends up being kicked. That's the Sonic situation here, as apparently late one night, that old Envy group had started a WhatsApp group chat, and they were set to agree to cut Nifty. According to Fugly, though, one person was not fully actually on board of cutting Nifty. The next morning, Nifty finds out, and Sonic gets cut right away. Here is the first instigation of what exactly goes on, as Fugly goes on to state there was no hesitation, no talking about it. Sonic was just gone. The entire team did not talk about it or consult about it. Yes, at one point in time the night before, they'd actually agreed, or at least a part of them had agreed, to cut Nifty. Nifty somehow found out about the group chat, and the next morning, it was Sonic that was gone, and not Nifty. And an important backstory as well is it's actually Fugly living out of Arizona, and so Dallas wanting him to not really relocate. They actually said, apparently, according to Fugly, he would not have to relocate out of Arizona to Dallas, to Texas, to play with the team, and so that actually makes a lot of sense for the guy, right? He's living out of Arizona, does not have to relocate and then pay rent in a separate state. A big motivator for a guy to dedicate himself to an organization like Envy if they first said, you don't have to relocate for us. Then we slip past into September, not too long, much longer later, and they're trying to convince him that he might probably have to relocate to Dallas, which did make a lot of sense, right? Dallas Fuel, I think, are going to be likely to actually move out to Dallas to play as a team underneath the new facility in HQ underway and under renovation for Envy. And that roster, obviously, if you guys also follow Call of Duty, their entire Call of Duty roster was forced to actually relocate to the city, and it's probably going to be a dream for an owner out there of any organization to have all of your players, all of your teams under one roof and one city. But it's Fugly, a guy who was kind of lied to and misled. At one point in time, a month previously, he was said that he didn't have to relocate, and then about a month later, they're saying, okay, you might have to. Obviously, a huge issue for many players out there who don't want to relocate, as Fugly in his situation would then be paying rent and utilities in one state, and then rent and utilities in another state as well. And here's where things get a bit hairy around December. Yeah, just this past December, where it was actually Fugly who said he's willing to commit and relocate to that separate city. He was in talks with Envy, though, to raise his stipend a little bit because he would be paying rent and utilities in one city and rent and utilities in another city, that being where he lived in Arizona, alongside, of course, relocating to Dallas. He'd be paying it yet again, just trying to bump up his payment from Envy to, of course, afford both those living situations. Now, in talks with Nifty around this same time in December, he apparently wanted to keep Ryan. He and Nifty were going back and forth on Fugly's ideas about this, and the both of them were actually apparently on the fence about Android at the time. Now, also around the same time, Envy would also have been cutting their existing coach and their manager, both of which, according to Fugly, him and Ryan had no idea were cut until the moment they were cut. A reoccurring theme we will see time and time again during this situation is these players not knowing what was happening until it had happened the day of. So now late December rolls around, another call between Fugly and Nifty. No news on Android yet. Ryan has not been contacted by Nifty yet, even though Fugly had told Nifty to contact Ryan about the situation. Neither Fugly or Ryan were actually made aware of Android then being placed on the inactive roster, or being cut, I should say, until it was then announced. This came from no mention from Nifty whatsoever, and then it was actually actually slipping into early January, where Nifty was still in talks with Fugly about potential good pickups and options. So yet again, you have a manager. Of course, we actually stretched back to the Sonic situation. These players, all of a sudden out of nowhere, they were going to cut Nifty. Then next morning comes around, it's Sonic who is being cut. Alongside that, a manager and a CS coach were both cut, and the remaining members, Nifty, Ryan, alongside Fugly. Fugly and Ryan were not made aware of this until the day of. That continues on to Android and his benching or placing into the inactive roster. Fugly claims him and Ryan did not know this until the day of. We slip into early January of this year, 2020, and they're still in talks. Fugly's still in talks with Nifty about potential pickups for him and Ryan. Fugly, Ryan, and Nifty were still in talks early January, according to Fugly, about potential 2 other pickups to finalize this roster. Then we hop into just this past week, January 8th and 9th, where according to Fugly, shocking enough if this is true, just this past week, the 8th and 9th, Fugly says he reassured everyone, NV management alongside Nifty, he would 100% relocate for the team. When Nifty reached out about his ideas, apparently Fugly said he would relocate, and he was still asking about potential other 2 pickups to join them. So we have Fugly, who actually clarifies that Nifty reassured him it would be Fugly, Ryan, and himself, plus 2 others just last week. And then we, of course, have the benching, or I guess you could say now a restricted free agent, placed upon him just today, that being Fugly. We have a slew of roster changes out there that were not made aware to many of the members until the day of. This is NV mismanagement, it's miscommunication, and now it is a very, very bad look for a guy like Nifty. I will not lie, I'm not trying to badmouth the guy. According to Fugly's words, it is not a good look for a guy who is apparently making the decisions and not making anyone else aware of his own choices. It seems that Nifty, as of these words and his accusations, he has not responded to the point of me posting this video, guys. It seems he is running the show here and kind of picking and choosing who goes, who comes, and what team will be built around him. It is not a good look. Alongside that as well, you kind of think about it, when it comes time for a poster child, Nifty certainly fits that role, right? Had him on the podcast, he's a great face, a great talker. He was a big pickup when they first picked him up as well, and still likely is. Alongside that, they even let him go to actually analyze an event as well. If it comes time for a poster child for a team, Nifty really does fit those roles, and they've seemingly given the power to do so, as to be that poster child and be that decision maker to build a team around him, but that team around him no longer exists. A super, super sad story for a guy like Fugly, who, by the way, has now been cut during a free agency period, which is pretty much over. If you guys have not been around for the past month or 2, that's when all the big signings have either started going underway or have been finalized for a lot of these teams and players to be signed. It does Fugly no good to be a free agent right now, as our season is now beginning and going well underway. This is a very, very strange situation brought to us by Fugly. I will link his Twitlonger down below. I hope that Hastra responds about this. This is a very, very serious situation and a slew of miscommunications and mismanagement seemingly from Envy, and I would love to hear their opinion on this. Until next time, I hope you guys all enjoy breaking down CSGO esports gaming news here every single day, all day long. Until next time, take care.